What if the food you've trusted for years is quietly poisoning you? In a shocking 2025 report, public health experts revealed that over 60% of packaged products in U.S. grocery stores contain additives already banned in Europe for their links to cancer, heart disease, and hormonal disruption. And here's the gut punch. These aren't rare imports, but the everyday foods sitting in your pantry right now. Recent FDA updates admit that several, generally recognized as safe ingredients, are under emergency review after new studies tied them to rising diabetes and obesity rates across the country. So here's the question. If these foods are dangerous enough to be banned elsewhere, why are Americans still eating them daily without warning? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. And today we're exposing the 11 dangerous foods RFK Jr. just banned. Let's begin.
And Americans need to know that. It is poisoning us.
Number 1. Donuts. Imagine standing in line, the smell of warm sugar wrapping around you like a sly salesman whispering, "Come on, you deserve this." It feels harmless, doesn't it? Just a golden ring of sweetness, soft as a pillow and promising to melt your troubles for a minute. But if donuts were really so innocent, why would RFK Jr. put them on a banned list that screams danger louder than a car alarm at midnight? Maybe the better question is, how much damage have we been swallowing with every bite, pretending it's just a little treat? The first betrayal hides in the grease. Donuts are usually fried in oils that turn toxic under high heat, leaving behind fats that clog your arteries like old bacon grease solidifying in a kitchen sink. Labels claiming no trans fat might make you feel safe, but they're as trustworthy as a used car salesman insisting the rattling sound adds character. The so-called healthier processed fats still coat your blood vessels, making your heart strain harder, every beat like a worker lifting bricks without rest. Do you really think your heart can keep taking that punishment year after year? And then comes the sugar ambush, the real punch to the gut. One donut alone carries more than 20 grams of sugar, roughly the same as dumping 5 overflowing teaspoons straight into your coffee, but you're gulping it down in minutes. That quick sugar rush slams into your system like cheap gas in an old engine. It revs fast, sputters out even faster, and leaves you crawling through the day, tired and irritable. Stack this routine week after week, and you're not just dealing with fatigue, you're inviting weight gain, creeping insulin resistance, and the looming threat of type 2 diabetes into your life. Even worse, sugar plays mind games. It spikes your mood, then drags you down, leaving you jittery, anxious, and wondering why the happiness fades quicker than it came. And we're not done yet. Toss in the frosting, sprinkles, or cream filling, and you're stacking disaster on top of disaster, like throwing lighter fluid onto a campfire that's already out of control. That pink glaze isn't cute, it's practically a warning sign flashing, "Your arteries won't forgive this." But stepping away from this sugar trap doesn't mean giving up sweetness forever. Your taste buds can still find joy in a crisp apple sliced thin, paired with a bit of almond butter and a sprinkle of cinnamon. It might not shout for attention like a frosted donut, but it whispers health in a way your body will thank you for every single day. And if something as ordinary as a donut turns out to be dangerous enough for RFK Jr. to slam the brakes on it, maybe we all need to start asking, what else on our breakfast table has been smiling sweetly while quietly tearing us apart? Number 2. Shredded cheese. That bag of shredded cheese sliding so easily into your cart feels like a gift of modern life. No grater, no mess, just rip it open and sprinkle away. It melts on your casseroles, your tacos, your morning eggs, and it seems like the kind of simple convenience we all deserve after a long day. But isn't it strange how the easiest things often hide the dirtiest secrets? What if those neat little strands aren't just cheese at all? What if you're sprinkling bits of a tree onto your dinner without even knowing it? Here's the part no one likes to picture: cellulose. That's the stuff mixed into shredded cheese to keep it from clumping into a sticky ball. Sounds innocent until you realize it's usually made from wood pulp. Yes, the same raw material used in paper and cardboard. Food regulators shrug and call it safe in small amounts, allowing up to 4% of your cheese to be, quite literally, processed tree fiber. But let's be honest, did you really reach for cheese hoping to chew on wood? And it's not just the ick factor. Cellulose changes how cheese behaves. Real cheese melts into creamy, bubbling goodness, the kind that makes you close your eyes for a second because it tastes so rich. but toss too much cellulose in and it turns dry, rubbery, almost fake, stretching more like a worn-out rubber band than smooth, melted dairy. Would you ever sprinkle sawdust onto a grilled cheese sandwich? That's essentially what this shortcut feels like, only they've ground it up fine enough to fool your eyes. The industry has already proven it can push this too far. Remember when Castle Cheese Inc. got caught selling so-called pure Parmesan stuffed with extra cellulose and cheap blended cheeses? They were slapped with legal trouble for mislabeling, but the real story is trust. If one company was cutting corners so boldly, how many others are quietly shaving down costs with the same tricks, banking on the fact that you'll never notice? But there's a simple way to take back control. Skip the bag, buy a block, and grate it yourself. It takes a few minutes, sure, but when that cheese melts into rich, silky ribbons instead of fake rubber, strips, you'll taste the difference instantly. At least you'll know you're eating real cheese, not wood powder and filler disguised as convenience. Because if you're paying for cheese, shouldn't every bite be exactly that? Cheese and nothing else? Number 3. Burgers. A burger feels like a piece of American comfort you can hold in your hands. Hot off the backyard grill, wrapped in paper from a drive-thru, or sitting next to a heap of fries at your favorite diner. That first juicy bite makes you want to lean back, close your eyes, and just enjoy the moment. But here's the part we hate asking ourselves. What exactly are we chewing on? Because once you pull apart what's really wedged between those buns, that classic American favorite starts looking less like dinner and more like a health time bomb ticking away with every bite. The first red flag? Fat, and not the good kind. Burgers are packed with saturated fat, the type that clings to your arteries like grease stuck in a rusty pipe. With every bite, your heart has to work harder, pushing blood through narrowing passageways, each beat like lifting a heavier weight than the last. And the salt isn't doing you any favors either. Fast food burgers are salt traps, loading your body with sodium levels high enough to send blood pressure climbing like a runaway elevator. Quiet, dangerous, and especially deadly for anyone already struggling with hypertension. But the problem doesn't stop there. Many burger patties aren't just ground beef anymore. They're a science project of preservatives, artificial flavoring, and in some cases, ammonia-treated meat, nicknamed pink slime. Think about that for a moment. The same chemical used to clean floors is allowed to wash through beef to kill bacteria. Sure, it keeps the meat from spoiling as fast, but what's it doing to your body when you keep feeding it week after week? And portion sizes? They've turned into something absurd. A simple homemade burger used to be fresh beef, a slice of tomato, maybe a leaf of lettuce. Now fast food and restaurant burgers have been pumped up into greasy towers of cheese, bacon, and sauces so heavy they could clog a sink, pushing one meal into the calorie range of an entire day. Pair it with fries and a soda, and you're practically signing up for a heart attack with extra ketchup on the side. Let's be honest, how many of us are burning that off with a jog after dinner? But stepping back doesn't mean giving up burgers entirely. Make your own. Choose lean, grass-fed beef or even turkey. Load it with fresh vegetables and skip the globs of heavy sauce. That satisfying bite still feels just as good, only now you're not gambling with your heart or filling your body with chemicals better suited for a janitor's cart. Because if even something as beloved as a burger can quietly wreak this much havoc, maybe it's time to stare at every plate a little longer before trusting the next bite. Number 4. Tomato ketchup. It's almost funny how much trust we've given that bright red bottle sitting in our kitchens, like it's the reliable neighbor who never misses a dinner invite. Fries, burgers, scrambled eggs, just one quick squeeze, and suddenly every bite feels a little happier. But here's the real joke. That friendly neighbor is more like the slick salesman who grins wide while selling you a car that barely runs. Because what's really swirling inside that bottle isn't just tomatoes. It's a slow, quiet hit to your health. Spoonful after spoonful. And most of us don't even blink until it's too late. Start with that sweetness everyone loves. It doesn't come from fresh, sun-ripened tomatoes. It's riding on heaps of high-fructose corn syrup. The cheap sugar substitute food companies shove into everything because it's addictive and keeps you coming back for more. A couple of spoonfuls can pack as much sugar as a can of soda, and yet we squirt it onto our kids' plates like it's harmless fun. That's not just a drizzle of sweetness. That's diabetes patiently waiting on the porch, tapping its foot. And don't forget the salt, hiding in there like a sly poker player slipping extra chips into the pot. Every dip you take nudges blood pressure higher, a dangerous game for anyone already walking the tightrope with hypertension. Then there's the acid punch nobody talks about. Those tangy tomatoes mixed with preservatives can crank up stomach acid faster than one of those cheap gas station chili dogs that everyone regrets later. If you're dealing with acid reflux, every bite drenched in ketchup is like tossing fuel on the fire. But the real betrayal hides in the preservatives. The quiet wolves dressed up as harmless shelf stabilizers. They keep ketchup sitting pretty on store shelves for months, but inside your body, they're busy stirring up gut irritation, messing with metabolism, and sometimes triggering strange allergic reactions that seem to appear out of nowhere. And you know what's worse? Big food companies aren't clueless about it. They swapped fresh, real ingredients for chemicals and cheap sugar not by accident, but because it's cheaper and it keeps you hooked. That's the part that feels like a bad punchline, except it's not funny when it's your health paying the price. But here's where you can quietly fight back. Skip the bottle. Make your own with real tomatoes, a bit of vinegar, maybe some spices you trust. Sure, it takes a few extra minutes, but when you taste that clean, rich flavor and know you're not swallowing a science experiment disguised as a condiment, it's worth every second. Because if something as ordinary and cheerful as ketchup can hide this much damage, maybe we need to look twice at everything else on the table before the next bite sneaks up on us. Number 5. Margarine. Funny how margarine once strutted into American kitchens like it owned the place, promising to be the healthier swap for butter. It spread easily, lasted forever on the shelf, and looked like the smart choice for anyone trying to do right by their heart. But peel back that glossy promise, and the truth is about as pleasant as opening an old, leaky can of paint. Margarine didn't just fall out of favor, it got exposed, and what was hiding inside was ugly enough to get it practically shoved out of the market. The biggest betrayal? Trans fats, the silent wrecking crew for your arteries. These weren't just naturally there. They were cooked up through hydrogenation, a process that forces liquid vegetable oil to turn solid, making margarine spreadable but deadly. Trans fats are like vandals in your bloodstream. They raise bad cholesterol, drag down the good, and clog arteries like sludge in a drainpipe, pushing you closer to heart disease and even strokes with every bite. It got so bad that the Food and Drug Administration finally slammed the brakes in 2018, banning partially hydrogenated oils, the main source of artificial trans fats. That move wasn't just a regulation, it was the final nail in margarine's coffin. But even without the trans fats, margarine isn't exactly the innocent alternative it pretended to be. It's a highly processed cocktail of emulsifiers, artificial colors, and preservatives. Chemicals designed to keep it smooth, bright, and sitting pretty on store shelves for months. Inside your body, though, these additives can stir up gut irritation, inflammation, and even throw your metabolism off track. It's like hiring a mechanic who polishes your car's paint while secretly pouring sand into the engine. And don't let the labels fool you with claims of fortified vitamins. Margarine's nutrients aren't real. They're added back artificially because the refining process strips natural vegetable oils of almost everything good. Compare that to butter, which naturally carries vitamins A, D, and K2. And suddenly margarine starts looking less like a healthy swap and more like a cheap imitation wearing makeup. Even the environment has a bone to pick with margarine. The massive demand for palm and soybean oils used in its production has bulldozed forests, wiped out animal habitats, and ramped up pesticide use. As more people began to care about sustainability, margarine's dirty footprint became another reason to shove it aside. If you still want something to spread on toast without gambling with your health, try butter in moderation or plant-based spreads made with simple, natural ingredients. They may not scream miracle food, but at least they're honest about what they are. Because margarine's downfall should remind us all. Anything that looks too perfect and promises too much in a shiny wrapper might just be hiding the mess you can't see until it's already done the damage. Number 6. Canned mushrooms. Canned mushrooms sit quietly on store shelves, looking as harmless as an old friend who never causes trouble. They're quick, they're easy, and they feel like the perfect shortcut for pizza toppings, stews, or stir-fries. But here's the unsettling twist. Sometimes the quietest things in the pantry hide the loudest dangers. Those innocent-looking slices floating in brine could be carrying more risks than anyone wants to think about. And the worst part is you can't always see or taste them until it's too late. Start with food poisoning, because that's where the first nasty surprise begins. Mushrooms can carry Staphylococcus bacteria before they ever hit the canning line. If the process doesn't completely kill them, they can leave behind toxins that don't vanish even if you cook them again at home. So what seems like a simple topping for dinner could leave you dealing with stomach cramps, vomiting, or worse, sitting by the bathroom regretting every bite. And then there's the word nobody wants to hear at the dinner table: botulism. If Clostridium botulinum bacteria survive inside the can, they can produce one of the deadliest toxins known, attacking the nervous system and, in severe cases, even causing paralysis. The risk climbs even higher with home canned mushrooms if they're not sealed or heated properly. Picture opening what seems like a perfectly normal can, only to find out it's been quietly brewing something deadly. Even the can itself can betray you. A tiny crack or a bad seal is all it takes for bacteria to slip in, spoiling the mushrooms and turning them into a hidden health hazard. Mushrooms that weren't heated thoroughly enough during processing might still be harboring harmful germs, and you'd never know just by looking at them. Then there's the less obvious stuff. Most canned mushrooms soak in salty brine, which might not sound dangerous but can quietly drive up sodium levels. Bad news for anyone trying to keep their blood pressure in check. And let's not forget BPA, the chemical often used to line cans, linked to hormone disruptions and other long-term health concerns. You might think you're eating just mushrooms, but you're getting a side of chemicals you didn't sign up for. To make things worse, the canning process strips away many of the natural nutrients mushrooms are supposed to give you, leaving you with a weaker version of what fresh mushrooms could offer. Sure, popping open a can is convenient, but when convenience comes with risks that range from upset stomachs to dangerous toxins, is it really worth it? A handful of fresh mushrooms sautéed in your pan might take a few extra minutes, but at least you'll know exactly what's going into your body. And if canned mushrooms can hide this much trouble, maybe it's time to wonder what other pantry staples are keeping their secrets quiet. Number 7. Chewing gum. Chewing gum seems so ordinary, doesn't it? You unwrap a stick, pop it in your mouth, and that's it. Fresh breath, something to pass the time. While you're stuck in traffic or waiting in line, maybe even a little stress relief if you're having one of those days. But here's the question nobody ever stops to ask mid-chew. What are you really working between your teeth? Because once you pull back the curtain on what's hiding inside that stretchy, minty habit, gum stops feeling like a harmless pick-me-up and starts looking like something you might think twice about putting anywhere near your mouth. Take lanolin for starters. Sounds fancy, almost healthy, until you find out it's a waxy grease scraped straight from sheep's wool. The same stuff that keeps rain sliding right off a sheep's back. Great for the sheep, sure, but do you really want to chew on something that started its life keeping a barn animal dry? Companies don't even have to list it clearly because it's tucked under the vague term gum base. Unless you've got a magnifying glass and hours to decode every tiny label, you'd never know. Picture yourself chewing away for hours on something that was once stuck to a sheep's fleece. Suddenly, that fresh mint doesn't seem so refreshing, does it? And that's just the first layer. Sugary gum might as well be a welcome party for bacteria in your mouth. The sugar clings to your teeth, feeding those little invaders that slowly carve out cavities and set the stage for gum disease. Skip brushing afterward, and you're leaving that sticky sweetness to quietly gnaw at your smile like termites in a wooden beam. Think sugar-free saves you? Not entirely. Many sugar-free gums are loaded with artificial sweeteners like sorbitol and mannitol, innocent-sounding names until they hit your stomach, where they can trigger bloating, cramps, and even diarrhea if you get carried away. And all that chewing isn't as harmless as people think. Working your jaw over and over, especially on one side, can throw the muscles out of balance, causing headaches, earaches, and even TMJ, those nasty jaw joint problems that make chewing feel like grinding rocks. But here's the kicker that nobody talks about. If you have silver fillings, all that chewing can actually release mercury into your body. Yes, mercury, the same toxic metal tied to memory issues, nerve damage, and other serious health problems. Fresh breath at the cost of leaking metal into your system? That's a trade most people wouldn't make if they thought about it long enough. Does that mean you need to swear off gum forever? Not necessarily. A better choice is sugar-free gum made with xylitol, which doesn't feed bacteria the same way and is gentler on your teeth. But even then, moderation matters. Maybe it's time to ask yourself if every chew is worth the risks hiding under that shiny wrapper. Because if even gum, the thing you barely think about, carries dangers like this, what other everyday habits might deserve a second, harder look? Number 8. Civot Coffee. What if that fancy cup of coffee you've been bragging about started its life in animal droppings? No, this isn't a late-night comedy skit. It's very real, and it's called Civot Coffee, or Kopi Luwak. Marketed as one of the world's most expensive and exclusive coffees, It's been hyped as a rare delicacy with a silky, smooth taste. But once you find out how those beans make their way into your cup, the whole thing starts to feel less like luxury and more like something you'd never willingly sip. The story began in Indonesia with the Asian palm civet, a shy little tree-dwelling creature often considered a pest. Locals noticed that when civets ate ripe coffee cherries, their stomachs changed the beans in a way that lowered acidity, giving the coffee a unique, smooth flavor. People began collecting the beans from the animal's droppings, yes, straight from the feces, and turned what was once waste into a gold mine. At first, civets were left in the wild, eating naturally. But greed has a way of ruining everything. As demand for this luxury drink exploded, the process was twisted into something dark and cruel. Instead of roaming free, civets were snatched from their natural habitats and thrown into filthy, cramped cages. Investigations in Bali revealed appalling conditions: cages smeared with waste, animals pacing in circles from stress, some so thin they looked starved because they were fed only coffee cherries, while others were bloated and lethargic from being trapped with no room to move. These nocturnal animals, forced into daylight, endured constant noise, isolation, and a slow, miserable decline. No fresh water, no social interaction, just suffering. So someone, somewhere, could sip a cup of overpriced coffee and call it special. And here's the part that should make you sick to your stomach. There's no easy way to know where your Civot coffee comes from. Many packages claim the beans are wild sourced, but investigations, including a BBC report back in 2013, uncovered how beans from abused, caged civets were falsely labeled and sold to unsuspecting buyers across Europe. That sleek bag with the gold lettering might look elegant, but behind it could be a grim tale of animal cruelty and filth that no amount of marketing can wash away. Sure, coffee is supposed to be comforting, but ask yourself this: does it feel comforting when every sip might carry the misery of a trapped, suffering animal? The so-called taste of luxury starts to lose its shine when you realize the real cost isn't just money, it's paid in suffering, one tiny cage at a time. And if even coffee, something so many people drink daily, can hide a story this ugly, maybe it's time to start questioning every exotic treat that gets pushed as rare and luxurious. Number 9. Candy. Candy feels like a bite of childhood. Bright colors, sweet flavors, and that little rush of happiness. But peel away the nostalgia, and it's nothing but trouble hiding in a shiny wrapper. Sugar and bacteria are partners in crime, and your teeth pay the price. Bacteria feast on sugar, releasing acid that eats away enamel, the hard shield protecting your teeth. Once that enamel's gone, it's gone for good, leaving cavities wide open to attack. The sweetness doesn't stop there. It helps build sticky plaque, which can inflame gums and, if ignored, turn into gum disease or even tooth loss. Fun-sized? Not so fun when you're losing teeth. And candy's damage goes far beyond your mouth. That sugar rush? It's a cheap high followed by a crash that leaves you drained. Too much sugar over time pushes weight gain, type 2 diabetes, and heart problems right onto your plate. Some studies even link high-sugar diets to depression and memory issues. Candy might look cheerful, but behind the bright colors, it's quietly wrecking your health. Maybe next time you reach for that extra piece, you'll think twice about what's really hiding in every bite. Number 10. Instant noodles. There's something comforting about tearing open that colorful package, tossing the dry block into boiling water, and knowing dinner is ready in minutes. But that quick comfort hides a dangerous price. Instant noodles aren't just cheap and salty, they're a quiet health gamble with every slurp. Start with the salt bomb. One serving can pack around 1,500 milligrams of sodium, nearly 3/4 of what you should eat all day. And who eats half a pack? You finish the whole bowl, flooding your body with salt that makes you bloated, spikes your blood pressure, and pushes your heart harder than it should work. Keep this up and you're walking straight into heart disease, strokes, or kidney trouble without seeing it coming. That magical seasoning packet, it's a chemical storm. Flavor enhancers like MSG can trigger headaches, dizziness, or nausea, yet most people dump it in without a second thought. And those noodles? They're often deep fried before packaging, loaded with trans fats that clog arteries and raise bad cholesterol, slowly building a wall your heart has to fight against every day. If you love noodles, switch to fresh ones, add real vegetables, and use low-sodium broth. Comfort shouldn't come at the cost of your heart. Number 11. Soda. Pop open a can, hear that happy fizz, and it feels like bottled joy. But that sweet, bubbly drink is less refreshment and more sugar-loaded trouble waiting to happen. One can carry 7 to 10 teaspoons of sugar, like dumping half a bag straight into water and calling it refreshing. Your blood sugar shoots up fast, then crashes, leaving you tired and craving more. Keep that cycle going and you're staring at weight gain, type 2 diabetes, and heart problems you won't see coming until it's too late. And soda is sneaky. It doesn't make you full. You swallow over 100 empty calories, stay hungry, and end up eating even more. Worse, it tricks your brain into craving extra sweets, keeping you stuck in a loop of junk food and soda refills. Your teeth don't escape either. Sugar teams up with bacteria to make acid that strips enamel like rust cleaner on metal. Cavities, tooth decay, and expensive dentist visits are the real bonus prize in every can. Water, sparkling water with fruit or unsweetened iced tea, can refresh you without that hidden damage. If soda can quietly wreck you this much, what else in your kitchen deserves a second look? Think before you bite. Question every label. Protect your health. Subscribe now. The truth about your food is just beginning.
Thanks so much for sticking with us to the very end. If you liked this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe so you won't miss any of our daily updates. And now feel free to check out some of our latest and most popular videos showing up on your screen. Goodbye, and see you in the next one.